Welcome to this week's Overwatch news without the bullshit. Let's get started. The biggest news of the week is the new hero called Wrecking Ball, who is a genetically engineered hamster from the lunar colony. The backstory is that he tethered himself to Winston's escape pod when the colony went to shit and landed near Junkertown, Australia. He then modified his escape pod into a fucking droidica mech, leading to where he is today. Just a reminder that the hero is called Wrecking Ball and the hamster is called Hammond. He is currently available on the PTR and expected to hit the live servers in roughly 3 weeks. Wrecking Ball is equipped with a set of primary machine guns, which does 400 damage over the approximately 3 seconds it takes to empty his magazine. The primary weapon is hit scan and has a 50% damage reduction fall off at maximum range. He is also able to turn himself into a ball and back again at will. This increases his movement speed by 50%. His right click is a grappling claw, which allows him to swing and pick up speed. At full speed, contact with enemies deals 50 damage and has a knockback effect. The cooldown on this ability is 5 seconds. The next ability is called the Pile Driver, which allows him to slam the ground beneath him and does damage in an 8-meter radius. This ability does 20 to 100 damage, depending on how close enemies are to the center. It should be noted that the cooldown is 10 seconds, and that players need to be above jumping height for the ability to work. Another ability is the Adaptive Shield, which temporarily increases the player's health by 100. However, the amount of shields increase by another 100 for every enemy nearby. For example, if all enemies are within 5 meters, it will give Wrecking Ball an extra 700 health, making for a maximum of 1300 HP for the duration. The ability lasts 7 seconds and has a cooldown of 15 seconds. Lastly, his ultimate deploys 12 mines in a 6-meter radius, which each do 130 damage after a short delay. The mines can be destroyed and have 50 HP each, but it is intended to be used as an area denial ability. The mines last 20 seconds and are spread over a larger area if deployed from a higher elevation. The PTR also added some additional hero balance changes. Bastion, McCree, and Soldier's minimum damage at their maximum range has been increased from 30% to 50%. Mei, on the other hand, has no damage fall off for her secondary fire. Widowmaker's machine gun fire has been slightly nerfed, with it now only doing 50% damage at maximum range. Hanzo's storm arrows have been slightly nerfed, with the duration being decreased from 6 to 5 seconds, and with the cooldown being increased from 8 to 10 seconds. Sombra, on the other hand, receives the biggest changes on the current PTR. Her stealth ability now lasts indefinitely, meaning that she never has to come out of stealth once activated. However, she can no longer contest the objective while invisible. Her movement speed buff is decreased from 70 to 50%, and she can now be detected by enemies at 4 meters, as opposed to 2 meters. Her translocator has also been changed, now having an unlimited duration, but also being destructible at 5 HP. There has also been slight changes to assault maps, which now have 4 minutes, as opposed to 5 minutes, to capture each control point when in quick play or arcade. This makes the assault map times consistent with the current competitive mode times. This is everything that came to the PTR this week. Now on to changes that have hit the live game. The new endorsement system went live this week, now giving players the option to commend participants in their matches for 3 different categories. These include sportsmanship, shot calling, and being a good teammate in general. Each player is able to endorse 3 other players per match, which will reward them with 50 experience each. Gaining enough endorsements will grant players a higher endorsement level, which will both point out the best teammates and reward players with unspecified rewards for maintaining a high endorsement level. The starting level for the endorsement system is 1, and the maximum level is 5, with a decay system in place similar to the high rank competitive ladder. Players who are continually reported for toxic or suspicious behavior will have their endorsement levels set to 0, which they will then have to grind to regain. Along with this, there is also an in-game group system that allows players to create groups with predetermined roles. Creators of the groups can specify the roles needed, as well as additional requirements, such as compulsory communication and a high endorsement level. Player profiles have also been slightly changed, collectively being set to private by default. Supporters of the change praise the system for removing the stigma of players who want to flex onto lesser played heroes, meaning you no longer have to buy a second account to convince your teammates that you're competent on a hero like a fucking dumbass. Players against the new system state that having private profiles make it harder to create team compositions, with popular streamer XQC being vocally against the change.
It's impossible to guide these people towards making a winning comp if nobody talks and there's no information that I have for me to coordinate them. I can't micro them. Then you lose the game because there's no comms, there's nothing. So why the fuck is this happening? And on top of that, why is it on fucking default? Why is it defaulted?
It seems as if the new group finder is designed to replace the need for public career profiles, and only time will tell whether this is perceived as a successful change. We also received an absolute metric shit ton of hero balance changes. Doomfist has received a movement speed increase for his ultimate, meaning he will now travel at 200% speed, as opposed to the old 150%. His passive shield generation has also been increased from 30 to 35 for all normal abilities. Orisa also received a slight buff, with the charge rate on her ultimate now being 15% faster, as well as McCree, whose ultimate range has been increased from 70 to 200 meters. The Lunar Colony rework also launched this week, giving the map a number of balance changes and visual improvements. By far the biggest change that hit the live servers this week is Symmetra, who has received a complete rework of her kit. Her primary fire is no longer a lock-on ability, however it has received a significant damage buff. The beam's 3 charge levels inflicts 60, 120, and 180 damage per second. The damage can either be charged by continuously damaging enemy players, or by damaging a shield, the latter of which also refills her ammo pool, which has been reduced by 30%. The secondary fire is now much quicker, and no longer penetrates shields, however includes a slight amount of splash damage. Her turrets can now be thrown, and do twice the amount of damage. They are also slightly more damage resistant, and Symmetra is only able to deploy 3 at a time, down from the previous 6. The teleporter has also received a change, with it now being a regular ability with a 10-second cooldown, with a maximum range of 25 meters. It should be noted that it is now able to teleport objects such as turrets, self-destruct mechs, and ripped tires. You can almost hear Korean pros frothing at the mouth. Her ultimate has also been replaced with a massive fuck-off shield, which spans the entire map. Players can now build this enormous wall to make Symmetra great again, which lasts for 15 seconds, and can take 5000 damage before being destroyed. It should be mentioned that Sombra's ultimate can immediately take down the barrier. There are already a number of critics of the Symmetra changes, and there is not currently a consensus on whether she is too strong or not strong enough. However, as a long-time Symmetra main, I'm just happy that she's become more versatile. And with all 4 stages of the Overwatch League coming to a close with a total of 0% playtime, I think we can all agree that a change was needed. However, viewers should expect changes in the future, as is usually the case with drastic reworks. Along with all these changes, pro player and all-round legend Seagull was able to talk to a number of developers over a stream, lasting just over 2.5 hours. There's an enormous amount of information to unpack, so a link to a Reddit post compiling all the stream information will be in the description. However, here are the most significant pieces of information. It was mentioned that Wrecking Ball was one of the first hero concepts that was worked on, and that some of the sound and visual effects were completed only days before being shown to the public. Wrecking Ball also moves faster when rolling downhill, and his shield ability does not grant ultimate charge like Lucio's ultimate does. This may be changed in the future. Torbjorn was also mentioned, and details of his rework were briefly talked about. Ideas that have been brainstormed by the developers include the ability to throw his turret, having the turret level up with kills, changing the Molten Core to a regular ability, and having a faster reload when Molten Core is active. The developers are still not sure about the changes they will make, however it was mentioned that they still want to keep his turret and make him more effective on offense. Anna was also talked about, with the devs mentioning that she is unlikely to get a total rework and that she will remain a low mobility hero. It is likely that her strengths will get buffed as opposed to decreasing her weaknesses. Reinhardt was talked about briefly, and it was stated that bug fixes are currently their top priority. The developers are also working to make sure that charging characters such as Reinhardt, Doomfist, and Brigitte have more consistent interactions with each other. After these issues are evaluated, it will then be determined whether Reinhardt needs additional changes. Wrecking Ball was mentioned to be available in competitive 2 weeks after he's released into the live version. This is also the case with current Symmetra. The developers are currently working on more colorblind options. However, the many forms of colorblindness have made it difficult. A clan system was also mentioned, stating that they are very interested. No more specific details were given. It was clarified that the World Cup would be most likely playing on the current PTR patch. However, this is not confirmed. A replay system is still being worked on. However, the developers want to make sure it launches without bugs and with an easy to use interface. Lucio and Genji were stated to be in good condition currently, and their weaknesses and strengths are mainly influenced by external factors. A map editor was mentioned to not be launching anytime soon. It is unlikely that there will be any more awards for playing competitive besides golden weapons, with it being mentioned that these rewards should not be the motivation for playing ranked games. Zarya is thought to be in a good place, however Symmetra was likely to be getting more changes. Symmetra was also mentioned that she will not be pickable in the Overwatch League playoffs because of her receiving such a dramatic change. It was stated that Wrecking Ball was by far the most controversial hero among the early development team, with half the team praising the hero and the other half thinking that he would ruin the game. One developer went as far to set a calendar item 10 years into the future to ask whether or not Wrecking Ball ruined the game. It was confirmed that Hammond cannot talk and therefore uses his mech to communicate, although he can be understood by Winston because all animals in the Overwatch universe can communicate with each other. Blizzard's association with Infinity Ward allowed them to learn how to make weapons look more visceral. Seagull himself also made some comments during the stream, stating that he thinks Wrecking Ball's adaptive shields may require a nerf, and that he will synergize extremely well with Winston and Eva. However, the development team believe that Wrecking Ball will be very easy to adjust. Seagull also mentioned that in the Overwatch League, particular players in a team will group up with each other in order to more easily identify key teammates, highlighting that stronger visual cues may be needed to quickly identify players on a team. The endorsement system was talked about briefly, with the team wanting the maximum rating of 5 to be hard to gain, and that there is a decay on all endorsement levels above level 1. Endorsements were also designed for more serious modes, but it is unclear whether it will eventually be available in the arcade. Match history was also mentioned, however at this stage it is very early in development. In other news, the best Zen in the world meditates for an hour straight, and viewers who appreciate this video can click on the outro links to support the channel.